When belief is triggered, it fuels action, bold action for me. I'm fearless when it is triggered and when it's clear. And when I know what's right, if it aligns with my values, then I will not hesitate and I will move very quickly. I think that belief really gives me the confidence that I know the moves I'm making are aligned with the values. And so it resonates with confidence.
Hello and welcome back to Coach Season 3. I'm joined today by Jana Cardona and Kelly Merbler, and we are talking about belief. This particular strength happens to be my favorite of all 34. Yes, coaches, you can have favorites. We do allow for that. This one happens to be mine. I've taken strengths 3 times. This was either top 5 or right now 6, right at number 6. It's what I call my anchor strength. So in addition to the guests today, I get to participate in this particular strength. Kelly, we'll come to you first. How are you today?
I'm amazing. Thank you so much for having me back. This is my second time on
doing belief again, and this time we get to play with all the other strengths in there. Can you list your top 5 for me, please?
I sure can. It was so nice. We do it twice. So
yeah.
Number 1 is futuristic, maximizer, belief arranger, and activator.
Belief arranger and activator. All right. So of that, your 2, 3, 4, 5 are in my 6. So you and I might find some crossover there, but I'm going to be super curious how belief with number 1 futuristic plays together. That's going to be really interesting. And Kelly, where are you coming to us from today?
West Palm Beach, Florida. That's home for me.
Very cool. Very cool. How's the weather down there?
We are getting close to the humidity of summer that makes me want to move in the summer.
Yeah, and I have to say this, y'all. I was just down in Kelly's neck of the woods a little over a week ago. Weather was beautiful, by the way, Kelly. But we got to celebrate 5 years of her amazing community, Coffee with Kelly. And I'd be remiss if I didn't just, there it is, if I didn't give you just a moment to tell everybody about your community.
Love my community. Man, my belief is all in with my Coffee with Kelly community. And I just love them all. But yeah, we just celebrated 5 years of being a community and really making a difference around the world.
Yes, and you gave the stat, I think it was 17,500 people have crossed your threshold for the community. Is that about right?
They have that little virtual coffee shop. We've had a lot of visitors from over 78 countries in those 5 years.
Oh, I love it. And while I was there, Kelly had a live version of Coffee with Kelly on a Saturday, and it was amazing. It was amazing. So Kelly, thank you. Jana, coming over to you. May I have your top 5, please?
All right. Learner, developer, responsibility, belief, and individualization. So different than Kelly.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
So we are 2 very different top 5s, and we're going to get to explore the strengths. And Jana, where are you coming to us from today?
It's Bartlett, but it's very near Memphis, which most people would know, Tennessee.
All right, Bartlett, Tennessee. And for our guest today, Jana, what are you doing down there in Bartlett, Tennessee, relative to the strengths world?
All right. Well, I love coaching strengths, and I've done that. I've taught it in different companies, and I also coach it individually. And then I do trainings a lot of times, and I also build peer advisory groups for business leaders, and you give each other advice and direction and help when you're feeling like, man, I don't know what to do. I'm lonely. I don't have any other ideas. That's what they do together. So that's my new addition to coaching. Yeah.
Who are you doing that through?
It's called Kingdom Factor.
Nice. Okay, I have to look that up because I have spent a fair share of my career in advisory groups.
Yeah.
I've spoken to them, membership, so that sounds really cool. Jana, I'm going to start with you, and I'm going to ask you to tell us about this strength called belief. It's living in your top 5, clearly something that you're connecting with, agreeing to come on and talk about it today on the podcast. Let's dive right into your strength of belief.
All right. Well, I grew up in a Christian home, and I know belief doesn't have to be, Christian. It can be any kind of strong value. But I have strong values, and I always thought that was just part of my upbringing. Didn't realize until I took strengths that, oh my word, it's part of me. And I have a fun story later to share about how I something that happened to me when I was a child. I just this last year put it together with my belief. And it was like, whoa, this was really why my aunt didn't like me, kind of thing. Yeah. So I'll share.
Oh, that's good suspense. So everybody, we can't forget Kelly. We can't forget to come back to the story. I'm making a note. Please make a note because I'm all on the edge of my seat. So Jana, I'm going to ask you right out of the gate. When you think about your belief strength and the other 5, learner, developer, responsibility, individualization, which one would you say is the power pair? Meaning it's peanut butter and jelly. One couldn't ever be differentiated without the other. They're so closely connected in your way of seeing things.
Belief and developer. Those are my powerhouse strengths. I love developing people, and a passion for me, and especially it's come to the head lately, is with people-centered leadership and watching managers not talk very nicely to their people sometimes. And it got to me. And I put together talks and workshops on it because it's just beautifully combines with strengths, but it also helps them learn how to, with questions and things like that. And it's always the value of benefiting people and allowing people to be who they am because who they are sorry. And then, just allowing them to be appreciated for who they are. And that's what strengths has taught me over the years. I may be quirky, but it's because I'm made up this way, right?
All right. Yeah. And that's all of us. So belief with developer, obviously jumping into peer advisory groups. And I could go on for a while about managers and how they talk to and about their people.
Right.
And the need we have for that to change. That people narrative has to change.
Sure
It
does.
is. I think it's the greatest challenge we face in the workplace is how managers are selected and put in position, and then just the lack of training, and then what's allowed, what's given. What we allow for is what we validate, and if we give room for behavior that is speaking down about people or speaking to them in ways, then that's culture now. That's just how we are. And I agree with you. It's you want to solve a lot of workplace challenges, get right into that.
Yeah,
Right into that people-centered
absolutely.
leadership.
It's a perfect tie-in with strengths because once you realize somebody's strengths, then you realize why that little quirkiness bothers you. It's them, not, and you can work around it. So anyway, it's a passion.
All right. Well, I'll set this out there right with you. I also grew up in a Christian home, and I always connected, that was just part of my, centric value. I went to a school that reinforced that. But I'll agree with you on this. When belief came up as a top strength, it was deeper. It was certainly validating why I held so strongly to the tenets of my faith, as especially I came in adult years and decided it was my faith. But then why that closely aligned to family and core values and how it has affected everything I do in my work life. I tell my team, if I can't get behind something working, I can't do it. I can't sell it just to sell it. It actually has to affect change that's lasting. It's so deep within me to make that difference.
Right. Yeah, you reminded me of something else. If I have that time, I'll tell you how you just helped me connect something I hadn't thought about.
Okay, that's 2 cliffhangers. You only get 2 per show, Jana, because that's gonna have us all. That's gonna have us all over here going. All right, what Jana got next? Okay, so I got that one. New connection. I'm coming back to it. Kelly, tell us about your belief.
I love the word anchor that you referred to earlier. I was thinking about what really resonates with me around belief and anchor. And I've always shared conviction as well. It's that we stand firm in what we value, which is good and bad. We all know that. But once we know what we value and we're clear on it, it's extremely liberating, and we know how to get started. At least I do with my strengths.
Okay, so I want to hear a little bit about how belief connects in with your top 5. What's your power pair? Where do you really draw strength with belief with your other strengths?
It's really hard to pick one, honestly,
Okay.
but I'll pick one, and I'm going to...
You're not limited.
Okay.
There's no rules here. You can do whatever way you want.
Well, I would say I'll go with activator because when belief is triggered, it fuels action, bold action for me. I'm fearless when it is triggered and when it's clear. And when I know what's right, if it aligns with my values, then I will not hesitate and I will move very quickly. And a lot of people have shared that with me throughout life that I seem very confident in what I'm doing, which isn't always true, just letting you know. But I think that belief really gives me the confidence that I know the moves I'm making are aligned with the values. And so it resonates with confidence.
Okay, got it. So I want to stay on that for just a moment because belief and activator is known for moving with pace. It can dive right in. It has that fearless component to it.
Yep.
And so when you connect that to values, would it be correct or accurate to say what you decide to move on will be supported or driven by those values? Is that how that comes
Yeah,
out for you?
that
Okay.
makes sense for sure. Because I do have a very strong sense of urgency, obviously, because of my activator, but I will not be impulsive. That's the right word, I would say. Unless the values are aligned, then I move a lot faster. But if it's not aligned, I have to go back and think and figure out what's the right pace for this. So I can take my time a little bit unless it is aligned with my values.
Okay. And so just to go a little further, because interesting that you brought out your activator with belief, I share those with you.
Yeah.
And I have found that belief has actually served to, in some ways, tame activator for me. It's helped me to slow it down, to really pause and make sure what I'm about to react, respond, move on, take initiative. It's got to revert back to values, or it's just motion and action to accomplish a thing. Especially, I'll use the negative, especially if it's in response to offense, or I'm proving someone wrong, or don't tell me I can't. I'll show you all the ways I can, right? And I've had to have belief come along now and start to go, why does that matter? Why are you reacting? Why are you letting this unsettle what you already know to be true? Curious if you can relate to any of that.
I can. And I would resonate with that when it comes to my own well-being. And so as a business owner, I want to move quickly to get to where I want to go. But I also, as I've grown older, my values have shifted in what is most important to me. And it's important to me to have a strong sense of well-being. And so my belief will question if I should move at times so fast and just do everything quickly, or wait a minute, Kelly, hold on. You need to catch your breath. You need to have a mental health day because you value feeling energized. You value being your best. And if you don't take a break, you won't be your best. So hold on there, activator. Whoa, tiger. Let's remember what you said you valued, and you need to schedule some time to recharge. So that's where I would say it goes for me.
Okay, that's powerful because that ability to whoa tiger and connect.
All the
But
time. I talk
that's
to
good.
myself all the time. Whoa, tiger.
That's good. Your pet name for activators, Tiger. That's great. I love that. So I do want to just comment one more time, and Jana, I'm going to come to you for your childhood story because I just can't wait any longer. But so Kelly, when you said your values shifted, so some people would say belief is so deep within us, it so defines who we are that those values don't change unless we change them, unless we decide we agree with that. And so just curious if you could give a little bit of insight into that, because when we coach people on how to work with that belief folks, sometimes we have to share, hey, look, whatever they have as those deeply held beliefs, you won't be very likely the one to change them, but you need to know them and respect them because you're going to relate. You got to find a point to relate to them, because otherwise you're going to find yourself at odds. So curious as you describe just that shift that ability you've had to make some changes to your own belief system. What if the people you coach could navigate their total health and performance with the same ease as using Google Maps? Our friends at Wellbeing at Work help organizations turn fragmented programs and frustrated employees into thriving, high-performing teams. Wellbeing at Work acts as a GPS to enable total health and peak performance, pinpointing where your people are now, where they want to go, and the best path to get there. With Wellbeing at Work, coaches become credentialed navigators with personalized insights, proven tools, and human-centered support. If you're a coach committed to performance and care, Wellbeing at Work is your path forward. Navigating at scale from burnout to breakthrough is now possible. Visit podcast.34strong.com to find a better way forward to empower a healthier, more energized workforce. Again, that's podcast.34strong.com, Wellbeing at Work.
Yeah, I think it comes along with personal growth journey. And I look back at what did I value early in my career? It's very different than what I value today. And so my belief has helped me get clear on what I value in the season of life that I'm in. And I think that's so important for, I recommend this for anybody. Just like hopefully we go for a physical every year to get a checkup. I am very intentional in doing a values checkup every year. And I go back every January. It's part of my ritual. And I look at what did I say my top values were last year? And based on the experiences I had last year and where I see myself, that's where futuristic comes in, where I see myself going, is this most important to me right now? And so in that personal growth, going back to when I first learned about strengths, I discovered what did I have within me that I wasn't clear on before. And that's where belief comes in. I think it's when we get clearer on what we value based on what time of life we're in, then we can start to create a path to get there. And our values can be the concrete we stand on.
Powerful. Thank you, Kelly. I really want to pause on that moment of values checkup for all of our friends listening today who have high belief, or you work with, you have family members, friends, colleagues, clients who are high in belief. That value check, that check in, check up, probably very important and something we can encourage in people of high belief, that it's making sure it's like touching the base, right? I know where my base is. I know where my strength comes from. I know that whatever path I take, if it's incongruent with my values, the first person who is going to suffer is me. I'm going to be the first person that suffers if I misalign my values. And so that's really powerful. So physical checkup, value checkup, friends. That's a great takeaway. Thank you, Kelly. Jana. All right, we're coming back to it. So strong values as part of the upbringing, the fun story to share. What do you got for us?
Before I do, I just have to comment on Kelly's, because that's really true. You know, when you're at one age with little kids or whatever, your values are in a different place, and then when they're out of the house and everything else, my values have shifted. And just listening to you made me go, yeah, really, that's so true. It's just something that happened. But anyway, when I was younger, I was super, super quiet and just real serious as a part of my growing up, mainly because my mother reminded me that she used to polish my shoes 3 or 4 times a day, curl my hair. You know, it's just life was real serious for my mother, and so it ended up being for me. But I had a cousin who lived about 200 miles from me, so we didn't see each other very much. But when we got together, they'd come down once a year. We were great. We had fun. But my aunt, she liked my cousin and would take her places. And my mom one day got really mad and said, hey, why don't you include Jana in this? Because, you know, they're two are good friends. Why don't you include her? And she said, well, she's no fun. And I just took that real personally, boo-hoo, you know. I just thought I was too quiet or whatever. I wasn't with my cousin, but I was with my aunt. And I never put 2 and 2 together until I was talking to a couple coaches, and all 3 of us had belief. And one of them said, man, we can look so set in our ways and so pig-headed and stubborn. And I thought about that, and all of a sudden it dawned on me, that's why my aunt didn't like me, because my values were so different than hers. She used to put people down and make fun of people, and I just didn't like it. And so I didn't say much around her. And so I thought, phew, I'm not that bad after all. It's just that my values and hers did not. And that took me that long, the last year out of all those years that that I haven't been around her. But I just thought I felt better. I felt like, okay, my belief actually was right, because she wasn't too nice of a person to other people. So anyway, that was to me a haha story for me.
Yeah, I could see that, because if we think about how our strengths inform our behaviors and they inform our thoughts, and looking back at those formative type years where you can trace the steps, you can see the evidence of that strength coming through, and whether there was pressure or not to misalign from values, you chose to hold to them.
Didn't realize I was, but I did. Yeah. I just instinctively did. She didn't go to church. She didn't, she just did nothing like what I thought a real good aunt would be. And she embarrassed people all the time. It just wasn't me.
Jana, I'll jump in there, because what I can really relate to in that is anytime I'm around someone or I witness someone being unkind to someone else. I mean, I can visually remember being in Costco a couple years ago with my husband, and I noticed, I'm pretty sure it was a husband and wife, and the husband was being really mean, like unkind to his wife. And it is like, it's a trigger for me.
Yeah.
It is a trigger. And I have to really be mindful of how I react in those situations, because I value kindness. And when I see people being treated unkindly, I will speak up. And I remember I had no issue talking to a stranger in the middle of Costco saying, you really shouldn't treat your wife that way. Because I value being treated kindly in life myself, and I don't want to see other people face that.
Absolutely. I agree.
When you both think about your strength of belief and just this vein we've gotten into on your willingness either to not alter course to appease someone else, or, as Kelly, you said, speak up, I'm curious how you connect that back just to who you were coming up, as Jana did, or even other strengths. So, for example, I too, as a young person, I really struggled when I would watch other kids be picked on. I hated it. I was accepted into the athletic type group because I played sports and I could perform at a high level. And yet I found that some of my peers would mistreat kids who couldn't perform as well athletically. They had other talents, of course. And so I can vividly remember making a decision at maybe fifth grade where I was chosen as a team captain at one of our physical education courses. And I asked the other captain, I said, hey, let's reverse order. Let's pick everyone who normally gets picked last. Let's pick them first. And so we did that and completely changed the narrative. And I can remember the last guy being picked, who almost always got picked first, going, well, this is stupid. Like, what is this? And I look back on that and I just think, where did that come from? Like, I would wonder, like, what was it that caused me to go against guys that were my friends and yet go, hey, I'm not okay with people feeling devalued just because they're not as good at one thing in life. This is one angle. This is going to come and go. But being young and being able to have that thought, it wasn't until later to go, wow, those values were coming through. And it seems the thread that we're sharing here is just how people are treated, how people are, thought of, how they're spoken of, seems to be a common thread, irrespective of other strengths around it, that follows this particular strength. And curious, either one of you, what's percolating as we go down this path?
I always think I'd wish to be on your team, because I was always the last one picked because I was not athletic. And it was like, I would have wondered, what the heck is he picking me for? He knows I won't do very well. So anyway, I'd like to be on that team.
It makes me think of two words, and I was thinking about this yesterday, and it just kind of really resonates with what you're saying. I think with belief being, who we are, there are people that if they see something, let's say kindness or somebody treating somebody unkindly, they may want to say something, but if they don't have belief, they may not particularly be willing to say something. So I think belief differentiates in that way, at least for me, because I will be willing to say something because of who I am and what I believe in, that I will take it and move it forward. And then the activator comes in and it's like, oh, you got to slow down and watch what you're going to say first. But I think that's interesting because a lot of people may want to say something if they see it, but they're not willing to say something maybe because it's not that core of what they stand for.
Okay, good. As we're continuing on, I want to ask both of you in terms of when you're working with someone with high beliefs. So when you share a strength and you know the variances that can happen when you connect it with different strengths, what are some ways that you help people either on a team or a leader or someone in your network that you're working with? How do you help them be the best version of that belief comes through strong? Kelly, why don't you jump in that first?
I do this all the time. It goes right to what do they value? I think about what I learned in my growth is, my mentor taught me this, is you can't add value to people until you understand what they value. And it goes right to what do the people that I'm coaching, or what do the leaders that I'm coaching, or the organization, it just depends on who you're working with. But everyone values something differently because of their life experiences and what they've been through in their life. And when it comes to belief, I can help them so much better if I have clarity on what do they value most. And I'll give you an example. My assistant, Addie, I understand that she truly values, she's part of Gen Z, and we're all trying to figure out the mystery of Gen Z right now. And it's not a mystery. If we just asked questions to people on what they value, you would close the gaps if you understood so much. So, I asked Addie today, we were doing some, proactive work on a project. And I just said, how can I best recognize you? What do you want? And some will say the money, some will say, a day off, some will say, other things. And what Addie wants is she wants to know that she's doing a good job. She wants the validation. She needs the affirmation. And that doesn't mean that my other coworker wants the same thing. And so when I'm coaching or when I'm working with a team, I go right to what do you value? Because if I can be clear on understanding that, then I know how to show up best for whomever I'm working with as a start.
I agree with Kelly. The same thing. If you don't know what's important to them, what they value, you're coaching from your values, not theirs, and you're not helping them. You're not connecting with them because you're talking and they're disconnected. Unless you ask those questions and know, hey, this is important. It may not be to me, but it sure is to them. And then you find out more like that. I love going deeper. Like, so tell me about that. What's more? And get them to really talk. And I look at my grandkids, and that's like that. You think, how in the world do they do? And you start asking them things, and all of a sudden it's like they have a reason, and to them it's really important. And you wouldn't understand it otherwise. Like, your assistant.
You know how we start our coaching business on a high, only to get absolutely overwhelmed by the business side of things? We're suddenly supposed to be a full-time salesperson, marketing funnel maker, email marketing expert, social media manager, customer service rep, and tech expert all in one. Yeah, overwhelmed. Well, Lisa Cummings, our strengths coach friend, created a membership that gives you an insane member vault that will blow your mind. All the tools, systems, and templates to save you time and money. It's the actual assets Lisa used at Lead Through Strengths to build a successful strengths coaching business. All the assets are yours to customize and make your very own. She even gives you 2 years worth of emails you can use to serve your customers. So check it out at podcast.34strong.com, lead through strengths. Again, podcast.34strong.com, lead through strengths, from Lisa Cummings. Mm-hmm. And Jana, staying with you, when you're working with people who have people with belief on their team, but their values may not align, they're different. What are some ways that you help support those leaders that are trying to sort out? And I'll go back to the comment from your aunt. Wow, they just seem set in their ways, or or it wasn't your aunt, it was with your friends. We just seem set in our ways, or I've heard the stubborn word too used in relation to belief. How do you help those leaders connect with folks that may have different values than them that they're trying to work with?
I like asking just a lot of clarifying questions, because then they see each other a little differently, and I don't know if you've ever studied, her name went right out of my head, but she has the choice map, and her name won't come to me at the moment, but I love her work, and talking about how we judge quickly and how we just need to clarify and ask questions, and then we go down the learner path, which is my number one strength, so it's easier for me to ask those questions. But I try and ask questions and help people just listen, and if we're working with 2 people, so they understand. And there's this aha moments a lot of times with them. They go, oh wow, I didn't even think about that. That's how I did. I don't know, Kelly, I don't know if you'd do something different.
I think what you're saying is great. I mean, there's so many different ways you can take that. And I'm getting ready to work with a group that's going through this. And so thinking about what's the best way to set this conversation up, because there's a lack of trust, there's a need for more communication, and they very clearly value different things because it is a very diverse group of different demographics, different ages, different experiences. And they're having some challenges in moving their mission forward because they're just stuck in their own way. And so one of the things that I love to do is really having just human conversations with people, because let's be honest, we're all human. We all feel pain. We all get angry. We all love certain things. And so really just asking them to give us a peek behind the curtain, or take us for a walk in your shoes. What does it feel like to be in your role? What would you want me to know about what a day-to-day looks like for you? Is there anything that is often misunderstood that you wish other people would understand? There's something I learned from John Gordon as well. I'll share this with you. And John's got a great exercise. It's called the Triple H exercise. And it's asking your coworkers or your team members, who is a hero that you look up to? What is something that's been a highlight in your life? And what's a hardship been in your life? And what a great way to get people to just open up and share what their experiences have been, where you can start to understand, wow, based on that hardship, I'm hearing, and we have to listen, but I'm hearing that might be why they're so passionate about kindness, or about this particular project that we're working on together, because it hits deep with them based on where they've come from.
Powerful. Thank you both. Hero, highlight, hardship. What a great series of questions to get to know and help teams relate better, understand them at a value level. That's powerful. Credit to John Gordon, you said.
John Gordon, he wrote The Energy Bus, and I learned that from him.
Thank you, John. Hero, highlight, hardship. So I'm going to take you both now to a question around your belief strength, where any of your top 5 become the anti-hero, becomes a challenging strength to it. I'll go first. I have strategic as a top strength, and sometimes strategic likes to take a shortcut. It wants to get to somewhere faster because it sees a better way to get there. And sometimes it does that, and it tells belief, shh. It's like that. Just no, you're fine. You're fine. We're going to do it. We're going to get there by going this way, and we're going to cut this corner. We're going to do this thing. And they get at odds sometimes. Like I can feel the tension between belief is like, come on, we got a lot to do. Let's find pathways to get there. And belief's like, no, let's take the long path if we have to. So curious for you, any of your strengths that you find pull a bit at your belief. Jana, anything come to mind with your top 5?
Never thought about it that way. Maybe individualization, because people are so unique and different and totally against some of the things I believe in. But part of me, because I have empathy and I have developer, and those, I don't agree with them, but I'm not going to put them down. I know in my heart that isn't right, or they're not, in my head, they're not doing the right thing or whatever. But that's probably the one. Maybe I think I've grown up though. When I was younger, that was probably a stumbling block, thinking back, because I didn't know strengths, and I was so brought up in a home where there was no gray areas. It was either right or wrong, right? And so as I became an adult and dealt with a lot of people that weren't living exactly like they should have or doing what they should have, I was a judger for a long time. And I think that's why that work with learner and judger means a lot to me, because I began to realize, okay, it might not be right. My eyes, I know it's not, but I still can't judge. I can't condemn them for something. So that's probably the struggle. I never thought about that.
That's a good introspection, walking us through that process of where that might, because strengths certainly live in this continuum where they, as we understand, these are recurring, right? They recur, and sometimes because they're not individual occurrences, right? It's us. It's a spectrum of who we are, and so one can be pulling, in a different direction. So I could hear that with individualization. That's an interesting noticing, and I have found with belief, you're not wrong, because my values inform my standards, and if people aren't at my standards, I might have perceptions about them based on that.
Absolutely.
And being a person who judges, well, that would make me human. We all have judgments, but what we do with those, where we let them go, how we treat people in regards to those judgments, that's where, I can see that tension. How about you, Kelly?
Ooh, I call it the beast. So tiger is activator, maximizer is the beast. And it's absolutely maximizer. It can collide. Like literally collide. And it's like that moral edge that I have with maximizer, because one of the things that I value is excellence. And so you take maximizer that is all about raising the level of excellence and combining that with valuing excellence. Well, if someone doesn't value something that I feel so passionately about, and I can give you a really good example. So as my values were shifting, when I was starting to learn about my strengths, I started really falling in love with personal growth. And it was new to me. I'd never really invested in myself. I never really had a mentor. This whole world was opening up of, wow, I can really do a lot more based on the strengths that I have if I really develop myself. And so getting a coach, getting a mentor, and all of that kind of started. And it was like this trigger inside of me, like, wow, I value personal growth so much. Why doesn't everybody else? Why doesn't my organization value developing leaders and things like that? And so it wasn't that we weren't agreeing on certain things, because we just had different things that were more important at that time in our lives. And so for me, it was like trying to climb uphill with dental floss and just not getting anywhere. But my belief kept me going because I knew it was the right thing to do for what I wanted in my life and what I saw in the future. the futuristic. So I kept going no matter how hard it was, but I was working against the current where I was because who I was working with didn't value personal growth as much as I did. And so it was like a moral collide of we just didn't agree.
I understand. Thank you. Kelly and Jana, thank you both so much for joining us today. And to our listeners, take a moment to reflect on your own strengths and how they show up in your life. And if today's episode resonated with you, we want you to share it with someone that might find it helpful. But before we conclude today, Jana, I'll come to you first. When it comes to the work you're doing, where can people find you? And what might they need to know about how to get in touch with you and perhaps do some work with you?
Okay. Well, they can email Jana, Jana, at designed, and then a hyphen, the number 4 hyphen success, designedforsuccess.com. That's the easiest way. I have a website too. They can get me there, and it's the exact same, designedforsuccess.com. So
thanks, Jana. And what sorts of things might they contact you for?
I'm always looking for speaking and training opportunities. And they don't have to be on strengths because I tie that in no matter what I'm doing. It just sneaks in there. But yeah, speaking and training is something I love doing. So they can do that. That'd be great. Or coaching, obviously.
Very cool. Thank you, Jana. And Kelly, in addition to Coffee with Kelly, there it is. Where can people connect with you and what might they want to know about work with you?
I love to have a good time. I believe in having a good time. So LinkedIn, and that's the easiest for me. Just go to LinkedIn, connect, send me a DM, or just Google Coffee with Kelly, and you can always join us at Coffee with Kelly. It's free. But I just, going back to belief in our whole conversation, I just believe so much in this work. And I'm just going to do a little shout out, if I may, Brandon, because I know you value this too, but if you want to see the power of what Clifton Strengths can do for a team, just go check out what I posted on LinkedIn about a team that has been investing in their strengths over the past 3 years. I just posted it today. So great storytell, great case study, and all this work that we're talking about, it absolutely matters, and it makes a difference because the employees feel valued and heard.
Awesome. Thank you. And for our listeners, today is May 7th. So depending on the date that this episode releases, go back and take a look at what Kelly posted about a team and the work that she's done with them. And you can read that testimonial. Jana and Kelly, thank you again. So appreciate the rich conversation around belief. You both brought your best today. You could hear your values shining through. And to all of you listeners out there, thank you for being here. And we look forward to seeing you next time on Coach to Coach.
That's a wrap on this episode of Coach to Coach. If you've enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you're a strengths coach looking to dive deeper, join the Coach Strong community. It's where coaches like you come together to share insights, support one another, and discover partnership opportunities. Be part of the conversations that are elevating our industry. Email community@34strong.com to join today. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week on Coach to Coach. Stay strong.